So we're going to move to the next device, I suppose, that's in this week's parsha.
Quirk. What is the next
quirk,
one?
Literary device.
Yeah, what's the next one? The Yisrael one?
So the next one is Pasuk Per Kafav, Pasuk Aleph.
Kafav? Did you notice what you said?
Yes, that's why you mentioned it in the first place, because I said that.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that?
Yes. So we're back on track now. Vayhi acharei hamagefa, and it happened after the plague. With an etnach.
Do the context for her. Do the context.
And
it was a plague because after this covenant thing, right?
So, because the people of Israel were marrying or connecting themselves to the Midianite women, as after Pinchas
did attack the zealotry,
he killed Cosbi and Zimri. 24,000 of the people of Israel also died in a quote-unquote plague. And
because they were doing, what were they doing? They were also not doing such.
They were also Hanitz Madim Lebapol. They were the ones who had connected themselves to this idolatrous type of worship.
So plague brought on by God.
Yeah.
Plague brought on by God, specifically to eliminate those people who were so intimately tied to this form of idolatry that they were not possible to be brought back.
So is that saying that it took Pinchas' first action to bring that on? Like, what if Pinchas didn't do that? Would he still have brought on the plague?
The plague would have probably continued.
Yeah.
Right.
It was when
and Pinchas doing his act probably is what stopped the plague.
That stopped it. Okay, it came out.
Well, the plague was brought on because they were doing, the 24,000 people were doing similar things to what.
And so they were dying and kept dying.
He was a priest.
Pinchas killed two people who were
like the instigators and the
princess and had come to the
Once they saw he was a big guy. He was the president of his tribe or whatever. So when they saw him do it, they figured if he can do it, if Clinton can do it, then you know. So, and that pasuk, it's such a terrible thing that 24,000 people died. It stops mid pasuk. Find the pasuk that he's talking about, so you'll know what he's talking about. It ends with a doesn't end with a regular sub pasuk. It ends with the
first one. Chapter 26, the first pasuk.
Yeah.
Oh,
you see how it stops mid? That's not a regular ending of a pasuk, right?
So all of a sudden we're stopping in the middle of the sentence. So why is this happening?
Well, thematically.
So and then we get Vayomer Hashem el Moshe ve'Elazar Kohen lemor. You should count all the people, and you should know who has survived after the sin of the spies. So so these two things seem to be completely unconnected.
That's what it says? But where is it? I better look up the okay.
Vayomer Hashem el Moshe ve'Elazar et kol adat bnei Yisrael. You should count them all. All of those people who are gonna go to war from this age on, and it then names all the families. So we're told by the Mefarshim that this is saying that all of the generation, and it says at the very end that lo notar mehem ish, no one was left from the people who had come out from Egypt. Ki in Kaleb ben Yefuneh v'Yoshua binu. Kaleb and Yoshua, the only two people who stayed true after the sin of the spies, were the only two who remained to be counted, both earlier in the desert and now again. So this is talking about a completely different scenario. So we have a sentence that ends in the middle, and then another sentence. There are 25 of these in Torah. There are 25 sentences that have stopping in not in Torah but in Tanakh. There are 25 of these in Tanakh that stop it at Nachtah and then have another sentence that goes after it.
Right. So it's not the only
we're told that when you see one of these, it has an existence both as a single sentence and an existence as two separate sentences. So you have to both see a way that these things are connected and see a way that these things. And see a way that these things are divided. So the division is easy to see. So the first thing is that you'll notice that when you see how this is written in Torah, Vayhi acharei hamagefa is written here with a long pause in the text, with a full patuach, with a full set of 9 spaces at least after it, before you get to the next sentence that might be part of it. So there is a full division there.
Can you just tell me where's that pasuk? Where are we talking?
Kaf Vav Pasuk Aleph.
Kaf Vav Pasuk Aleph. Oh, right, I'm looking right at it. Okay, fine.
So, we have a full set of division in that we are talking about the plague,
878.
page 878
No,
in
I
the
have it
Expo.
now, yeah.
Okay.
So we're talking about a full division between talking about the plague that happened after Baal Peor and the people of Israel who died because of the sin of the spies.
So you're saying by Yom Hashem Moshe Elazar is
So the question is it connected to Vahi
is it
Acharei
a
HaMageifa?
suma? Is that what you're saying?
It's
No, it's Ptucha. You got
You got the
Oh, it has to
plague
be
here.
open to the end of the line, and then okay,
Yeah,
the way
we
it's
put it
written
right
here.
here.
Okay. Okay.
So, in any case, we have a complete separation of those two ideas. We're talking about 2 different reasons why people from Israel died. One, because they connected themselves to an idolatrous ideology, and the other is that they had the sin of the spies. They didn't trust God. But ultimately, and that is the people from the generation of the spies who had now all died in the desert.
You're saying
So-
that the Magifah came because of the spies?
No, we're saying that there's a complete separation between the two. Vahi Acharei HaMageifa, the
Yeah.
Mageifa is talking about Baal Peor.
Right.
And Vayomer Hashem al Moshe Elazar Kohen is talking about the people who died from the sin of the spies.
Where
So
do you
of
get that
course,
from? Where is that from? That you get
because once you read through the entire list of all of the names, that it says, and separate from these people, there is not a single person who survived except for Kalev and Yehoshua. So I will get you that sentence.
Yeah, it's not before.
It is.
Oh yeah, Kim Kalev ben Yivulona
Yes.
Tarbahem.
Samachay.
Perek Kaf Vav,
Pasuk
Pasuk Samachay, Ki Amar Hashem Lahem, God had said to them, Mochemu tu Bamidbar, all of those people who had participated in the sin of the spies are going to die in the desert.
Right.
V'lo notar mehem ish, and there is not a single one left from them, except Kalev ben Yefuneh and Yehoshua ben Nun. Kalev and Yehoshua. So, we see that this entire listing of names is a counting of those people who survived the sin, who remained after the sin of the spies, after all of that generation had died in the desert. So we're now at the end of the journey to the desert, and we see that we have a distinct other paragraph talking about something. So why are these two things connected? Why can we say that there's a connection between Vahi Acharei HaMageifa and the counting of those people who died in the desert because of the sin of the spies? Why? Because you have 2 groups of people who have attached themselves to a false ideology
Right.
and have died because of that sin. You have the people who went after Baal Peor, and you have the people who decided that their own personal interest must be something that is more important than following a God who is obviously there with you and is giving you something. And that's what happened with the sin of the spies. So we have people who, Matovu Alech Yaakov, that they know how to act properly, and they didn't. They dissociated themselves from the concept of Israel, and therefore they had to be separated out from Israel. And we have those people who let their own egos separate themselves out from the bigger picture of seeing God in the circumstance when the spies came back and gave a slanted report that allowed people to express ego.
Where's the 24,000? Where am I getting that number? I remember, or is that a different Magifah?
That is at the very end of Parshat Balak. Vayiyu hametim b'magefa, and they were the number who died in the plague.
Oh, I know it's
Arba'a v'yasrim aleph, 24,000. That is the very last pasuk in the last parak.
You think that's where the broken sentence would be? Okay, whatever. Yeah, because
So that's a very strong division between that and the beginning of the next parsha and beginning of Pinchas, because that story sort of ends, and now we have a consequence that flows out of that. We have a bad thing that happened, it's over, and now we have a good consequence that comes out of it. So there is both a division and a connection. At the beginning of every parsha, we normally have at least one, and sometimes many of the Mefarshim say, well, why does this come after that?
Right.
So what's the connection?
Right. Right.
Connect me if I'm wrong, but were there not like two different kinds of census in the Midbar? Early on, when they were just, coming out of Egypt and they were preparing to go to the land, when they were preparing to go to the land.
You have to know how many people for war.
Yeah, because they were preparing for war, because
Right.
they
Originally
were
they
going to go
right
into the land at that time.
Then
And now, this is census, where they are
Correct.
actually preparing to go into the land. So the separation is that it's a completely different census with a completely different generation. That everything that had to do with that census and that concept of going into the land and everything died in the desert. And now it's separating it.
Was there a
this
census before the Meraglim? There was.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I think there was a census
Right, and
early on.
you're saying these are all the people from this second census, and there's nobody who was there from the first census except for Kalev and Yoshua.
Right. So I think.
And who else? Female?
And all the females. Oh, you mean Sarah?
Sarah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we're going
But
to.
Isn't it interesting that you would expect that pasuk to be after, like in the beginning of Parshat Pinchas, because look how Balak ends with the
Balak ends with the concept of
the Magifah, and 24,000 people died in the Magifah.
And
the next thing would be Magifah.
Then we have to say, oh, well, because of the way that ended, Pinchas got a reward, and by the way, we're coming back to the story after. So we're joining ourselves.
It's like Achrimon is two parshas after the Nadav and Avihu actually happened, and there's kosher in between, and all those other Masorah, And then when it says Achrimon, Achrimon, Shnei Bnei Aaron, it's been two parts. That happened in Shmini when they died. And after Shmini is the Achrimon Kadoshim.
We're gonna move on to the next literary device. We are Perek Kafvav, Pasuk Kaf Gimel. Bnei Yisachar lemishpachotam, the children of Yisachar to their families. Tola mishpachat Tolai. Tola.
We call it Tola. A worm. Oh my God.
Who had okay, well, I'll check on the spelling on that, but I think that's spelled differently.
What? Tolat? No, it isn't. Tolat is the same spelling exactly with an I.
Yeah.
Tolat Shani.
Yeah.
Maybe without the top. Tolat. Tolat Shani.
I don't know if Tola is the way that you would say it singular. But in any case.
No, Tolat is whatever. I'm saying it's also top.
Okay, but we're going to concentrate on Lefuva Mishpachat HaKuni.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, we have something here that is a grammatical. Hayalo, so Valaterm says, Hayalo Lomar Ha-Puvahi. So, if your name is Puva, and you're saying your family is the family of Puva, then you should have had the same spelling. Pe, Vav, He, with a Yud. The family of. Le, Pu. So it should have said, Ha-Puvahi. So you saw Tola, Taf, Vav, Lamed, Ayin, becomes Tola-I, with a Yud at the end. Of. So,
how about Shela? Shela, Shelani.
Okay, we're going to discuss why we have ones that change.
Right.
So I brought an example.
Right. I thought
we
you
have
were saying
ones
that was the only
change.
example.
It's not the only one.
Okay.
Which we have ones that change, and the question is why.
This is very Halifax and Haligonian. It's very similar to that.
Mm-hmm. So, but things in Hebrew don't happen because
of course.
because of that's a grammar rule or Old English or related to Latin or anything like that. So the question is, if we've changed a name of a family, then something must be special about that. if it's not written puvahi, then something must be happening here.
But
So
I just want to ask you, why did you choose Puni as opposed to, let's say, Shelani?
I chose this one specifically because Balaturim gives us an answer as to why this one is changed. So I have an answer as to why this one happened.
He doesn't have
so that's why I chose this
but
one.
Does he mention Shelani too, or no? Because maybe it is a grammar thing. Like, certain words in Hebrew don't follow the exact rules.
So Rashi will sometimes mention grammar rules.
Right.
He doesn't specifically mention that one, but I will see if anybody else mentions Shelani later on. We will leave that Shelah or that Shelan for later.
I get it.
But in any case, so Lefuva Mishpachat Hapuni Hayalo Lomar Hafuvahi. It should have been written that it was grammatically related to his name. Uchtiv Hapuni. And it's written this different way. Lomar, to tell us. Shekol Yisrael. So what was special about the tribe of Yisachar? Yisachar were people who would teach everybody. They would be the ones who would be the scholars in order that other people could go out to work. So they would feed those people the other people would feed them, and they would teach. So if you turn to someone and make them your teacher, you are poneh, you turn towards them. That Shekol Yisrael ponim elav, that all of Israel would turn to them, lilmod mitorato, to learn from the things that they would teach.
It's interesting that it's Parshat Pinchas, which you also said was the same root. Panah, remember when you know? It's interesting that this is happening in Parshat Pinchas also, which is also Peinun. Right? Yeah?
Yes.
Right. And where else do we know the words with letters Peinun? On every Matzeva. Ponikbar. And Ponikbar, 24,000 people in the Magibah. Whoa! I'm writing my own papers.
You should.
I have my own material. I'll have my own group. Only select people will be invited.
You should. And they have to bring steak.
Are you going to put it on tape?
I was gonna say, no camera.
No! Anyone who wants to come will come in person. If they don't, then they're not going to forget it.
We are now going to move on to Perek Kaf Zayin, 27th chapter, Pasuk Hey. We're now at the story of the daughters of Tzlachad, and the daughters of Tzlachad say, oh, well, we counted everybody else, and we've said that these are the people who are going to inherit the land, and we said all of the people who were sons of somebody else, and this one gentleman had only daughters, had no sons. He had 5 daughters. So they brought in front of Moshe and in front of all of the leaders of all the tribes, well, what are you going to do with us? Because we're only daughters.
There's no precedent.
They understood that if they were from the family of Korach, and Korach had separated himself out from the rest of the people, that maybe if they were from that lineage, they wouldn't deserve part of the land. So they specifically says that our father was not part of Korach's troop, so we had in no way separated ourselves out.
Was he part of the
so we say ki b'cheto meit, and the majority of the Mefarshim say that this was the guy who was Mikoshesh Yitzim,
right.
that this was the guy who was cutting wood on Shabbos, that first Shabbos, and there are a variety of Mefarshim, specifically I believe Maharal, who tries to say the good intention that was behind this.
Right.
He
was trying to show people what will happen if you're Machal on Shabbat.
But in any case, he tried this from perhaps a distorted ideal, but at least an altruistic ideal, a way to try to help others to avoid doing things that are wrong. So they're saying that, okay, so he misinterpreted something and he died for that. Nonetheless, we deserve to be inheritors as well. And it says, Vayakrev Moshe, and Moshe brought et mishpatan, their judgment, lifnei Hashem. So when Moshe doesn't know something, he brings it in front of God because he doesn't know the answer. It's something that is beyond him. So we see this in a couple of scenarios. We saw it first in those people who had carried Joseph's bones throughout the desert, and came time for Pesach, they weren't pure for Pesach at the appropriate time because they were carrying a dead body, and therefore they had to say to Moshe, okay, well, what are you going to do for us? We were doing something good with a proper intention, but we had no way to celebrate Pesach because we're here doing something good for Joseph's remains. So Moshe also had to take their judgment in front of God, and it became their zchut, their merit, that something had to be brought down in their name. So we see that Moshe has to take the daughter of Tzlafchad's case to God in order for him to understand what the law was going to be. And again, it's not a simple question, because it's going to, as we see in the next paragraph following, it's going to bring out all the laws of inheritance from here on in are going to be learned from raising this question. However, when we see the word mishpatan, their judgment, we notice that the letter nun in the word mishpatan
is Rabati.
is written very much larger than a normal nun safit. So it is something that is made very large.
By the way, is Lashon Lama Nigra, is that the same Lashon by the Pesach Sheni also? I didn't check yet. I think they also
Yes.
use that language.
Lama nigara
Why are we
leboti
less
hakriv
than?
et korban Hashem b'moadeh.
And here is Lama Nigra.
Mhm.
Yeah. I just want to show Corinne. Remember when you read that Nemani device and said Chelek? It was 168 verses.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to show you here.
So it's
Chelek,
not
Chelek.
mentioned explicitly in
It's one
Torah,
paragraph,
it's
three
mentioned in the
times.
Mefarshim. It just says that they were people who were tmeim l'nefesh adam,
That's
who
fine,
were
but
who were
it's
impure because of being in contact
see
with the
that
dead.
word is
Right,
like a
right,
leitmotif in the Parsha.
So
Yeah.
it's probably because they want to use that as an example for things that are going to come in the future as well. That other people in the future who have that same problem, who are tmei mate, will have that same question answered for them. So
This is the precedent-setting example, like for the future.
So, we know that if you have a letter that's written Rabati, that we have to learn something special from that letter. So, Shema Yisrael, Shem Elokeinu, Shem Echad. The Ayin is big, the Dalet is big. So you have to be witnesses.
We're Jehovah's Witnesses.
Ayin
We're the
Dalet
real
is a
Jehovah's
witness,
Witnesses.
8. So when you see letters that are written large, you have to take them, and you have to understand that there's something special that you're going to learn.
Where's the very first one in
Learn
Torah?
from that.
Corinne? Very first one. The
The
first
base.
letter of
The
Torah.
base.
The
The
base.
sheet.
Right. And we said it's close up to the sun because we're only supposed to know, all the secrets
But-
of the universe.
Coming to this one.
No, but it's good.
So Nun is the number 50.
Right. Oh, that
And-
could have been a question to participate. Okay. And why is that significant? 15?
The Gemara in Rosh Hashanah tells us that God made Moshe only slightly short of understanding full godliness. You say that there are levels of Tuma and Tahara, there are levels of purity and levels of impurity, and by the time the people of Israel had been in Egypt, they were at
The lowest level.
at the lowest possible level before they could not have attained purity again. And when they came to Mount Sinai, they were as close to the highest level as they could be. And similarly, Moshe was designed to be as close as he could be, but not quite there. So he wasn't quite at the 50th gate, he was at the 49th gate. 50
49th parallel.
is beyond reality. Reality is defined by 7. If you have a cube, you have 6 sides and everything that's contained within it. So, in order to get a whole something, you have 6 things containing something, you have a 7. So you have 6 days of creating something, and then you fill it up, and that's what you get. You get reality. So you have 6 days to create, and the 7th day to fill it up and to make it whole. And 7 times 7, okay, so 7 times 7 will define all of the possibilities within reality. By the time you get beyond that, then you're beyond what nature can provide you. Our concept of this world is a finite distillation of an infinite world above it, which has another infinite world above it, and so on. So when you take infinity and you try and squeeze it into something that is finite, that's what we live in. We live in that idea, 7 times 7. Anything that goes outside of that 7 times 7 is infinite, is the next world, is not something that's attainable here. So
50 is 7 times 7 plus 1. That's how you have to look at.
Similarly, we also see that the number 8
right.
has the same implication. It's beyond 7.
8 is 7 plus 1.
50 is beyond 49, 8 is beyond 7. So Moshe, through the daughters of Tzlafchad, learns this last little piece that he wasn't given. He's given Mishpat, the judgment of Nun, of things that are beyond what he was capable of having in and of himself. So it came in their merit that Moshe got this missing piece of the puzzle.
I wonder how Moshe made puzzles. How I feel I'm sure use my method.
So again, Mishpat Nun, he gets to attain the 50th level because of this.
So does that mean he achieves perfection? Because
So-
one wouldn't.
So at this point,
Because even he was only allowed to see the back of Hashem.
again,
That was
at that
death,
point
yeah.
in his life, and at this point, he is allowed to now give them their eternity, if you will. He's allowed to say how you're going to divide the land amongst the people of Israel, and it's going to stay that way forever. He couldn't give that before. Now he has the completion in order to give something that will last in an infinite sense.
Okay,
So-
thank you.
You all have it.
I'm gonna go to bed.
Okay, have a
Be
good
well.
night. Corinne, do you need a lift home? Would you like
Your
to-
contribution
You got her
was
own car.
Oh, you each have your own car.
You can still phone me, Harvey. Are you checking that?
Yes, sir.
Let's
Okay, and we're gonna do just one more.
Are you doing these 7 on 1?
We're gonna do Isaran right now.
Good.
Are these words related? Mishpatan and Mishpachtu?
No.
Okay.
So Mishpatan is their judgment, and Mishpachto is
And their
his
family.
family.
But the mem is not part of the word in both of those.
Where's the Isaron with the dot on it? Yom
No, okay,
HaChamishi, no?
that's like, mem is not integral to mishpacha. It's shin, pei, and chet.
Right.
Really?
Yeah. A lot of
29.
that mem is just makes it into mashbir. It's not part of the.
But now that
Okay,
it's
Okay,
been
now
put
we're
in
now
the-
we're now moving ahead to Parak Kaftet, chapter 29, pasuk Tetvav, pasuk 15,
Mabdil.
29.
29 and 15.
Shet, shin, pei, chet.
So we're now talking about the sacrifice that's brought on Sukkot, on the first day of Sukkot. So we'll briefly go over the paragraph, and the 15th day of the 7th month,
Where are you?
so we're reading about Sukkot,
In what, in Kapten?
Kaptet, Yud Beit.
Right, Shvi.
You shouldn't do any work. V'chagotem chag, and you should have a holiday. V'hikravtem olah, and you should make a sacrifice.
Celebration of
Yishay ref nichot Hashem. Parim, so this number of bulls, this number of sheep, and umim chatam. Now we're on Yudalad, and rams, and you should give a mincha. You should give a grain offering as well. Solet lulav hashemen, flour that is mixed with oil. Shlosha esronim, 3 measures. That's what it. Three measures of 10. Lapar ha'achad, for 3 measures of 10 of flour for each bull. Lishlosha parim, for all of